A law degree?
Return my folder.
Quoting statutes doesn't make you a lawyer. Stay out of it.
She only asked for the complaint log.
And now...
Ma'am, maybe you should sit down. Am I being detained? I don't know. What did she do? Nothing that I saw. Then someone should answer the question. The officer is...
Sit on the bench. State the legal basis. I gave you an order. You gave me a command. Sir, her voice is calm. Nobody asked you.
The log is public. That is not how law works.
Sit down and stop pretending this is court.
Return my property.
You think this folder makes you important? There's no safety reason. Angle your camera down.
Keep recording this.
Last chance. Stop arguing. I asked one question, and I answered it.
No.
She hasn't raised her voice.
Refused what?
My instruction.
Then...
Stay out of police business. She only asked for records. I said step back.
The call is already going through.
What
State
call?
Professional standards.
Cancel it!
Do not.
State office is on the line. Tell them we're busy. There are 3 vehicles outside. Who called them? Who are you? Sir, look inside the folder. State seal. What seal? Open it.
A law degree? Officer Grant Mercer scoffed, holding the elderly black woman's worn leather folder between 2 fingers. Ma'am, quoting statutes doesn't make you a lawyer. The courthouse lobby went still. Why did no one stop him when he ordered her to sit beside the holding room? Why did she remain calm while her granddaughter waited across town for the ceremony she had promised not to miss? And why did a single call from the clerk make 3 state vehicles turn toward the station? Mercer thought he was teaching a confused pensioner a lesson. He had no idea whose seal was hidden inside that folder, or what would happen when the door opened. Stay until the end. The glass doors shuddered as the first black sedan stopped beneath the courthouse awning. Rain tapped the panes in thin bursts. Grant Mercer did not turn. He held Evelyn Carter's folder at shoulder height, pinched between 2 fingers, as if it might stain his glove. "Last chance," he said. "Sit down and stop pretending this is a courtroom argument." Evelyn lowered herself onto the narrow bench beside the holding room door. The metal was cold through her skirt. Her leather briefcase rested beyond the officer's boot. "I asked for the legal basis of your order. And I gave you one. No, you gave me a command." People shifted near the records counter. Burned coffee scented the air. No one spoke. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, and wet shoes squeaked on the tile as late visitors entered, sensed the tension, and stopped near the doors. Lena Brooks stood behind the glass partition with one hand below the counter, her phone glowing against her palm. Mercer opened the folder. "Dr. Evelyn Carter," he read. "Constitutional law. Very impressive." Daniel Turner glanced toward the entrance. "Grant, there are state plates outside. They can wait." Evelyn watched Turner's thumb brush his body camera. The red indicator faced the floor. "Officer Turner, is your camera recording?" Mercer snapped the folder shut. The brass clasp clicked. The sound was small, but it emptied the room. A woman near the elevators stopped pressing the button. An older man folded his newspaper without looking up. "Don't involve him," Mercer said. "I asked a factual question." Turner swallowed. "It's on." "Good. Please keep it on." Mercer laughed once. "You think quoting policy changes where you're sitting?" "No," she said. "Your choices do." His smile thinned. "You demanded restricted records, refused instructions, and now you're trying to intimidate officers. The complaint log is public. According to you. According to state law." A man by the wall lowered his eyes. Lena's phone trembled beneath the counter, still aimed through the gap. Mercer pulled a blank incident form from the desk. "Name, address, and reason for being here. You already have my identification. I decide what I have." Evelyn looked at the clock above security. 10:18 a.m. Across town, Naomi would be checking the first row for the navy coat her grandmother had promised to wear. Evelyn pressed 2 fingers against the engraved fountain pen inside her pocket. Its smooth metal steadied her hand. "May I make one call?" "When I'm finished." "The ceremony begins at 11. "Then you should have thought of that before causing a scene." Rainwater slid down the doors in crooked lines. Turner looked at Mercer. She hasn't raised her voice. Mercer turned on him. Are you writing the report, rookie? No. Then observe. Outside, a second sedan pulled in, then a third. Lena's desk phone lit up. She glanced at the display, and the color left her face. Mercer noticed. Who is it? She tightened her grip on the receiver. Lena? State Office of Professional Standards. For the first time, Mercer looked toward the entrance. Beyond the rain-streaked glass, 3 doors opened at once. At 6:45 a.m., Evelyn turned the handle of the second coffee cup toward the empty chair. Rain whispered against the window, and the radiator settled into a low hiss. Across from her, James smiled from a silver frame, younger than the morning around him. Her phone rang beside the sugar bowl. Grandma, you're awake. I have been awake longer than you. Naomi laughed. That is not something to brag about. Evelyn lifted her cup. The coffee had cooled. Are you dressed? I changed twice. Then the first dress was right. A hanger scraped in the background. You'll be there by 10:40? Naomi asked. 10:30. You always add 10 minutes. I raised your mother. I learned to respect delays. Naomi went quiet. Evelyn looked at the second cup. She had filled it without thinking. 1 spoon of sugar. No cream. James had been gone 6 years, but some habits refused evidence. They're putting his name on the scholarship wall today, Naomi said. I know. I wish he could see it. He would complain that the lettering was too large, and then stand beside it for pictures. Exactly. Save me the seat next to you. I thought that was my line. You promised. I'll be in the front row. The clock clicked to 6:52. Evelyn's gaze moved to the brown folder near her briefcase. 7 complaints sat inside, each from Alder Creek, each describing the same pattern. Questions dismissed, records denied, visitors threatened with removal when they asked for names or policies. You're working before the ceremony. I am reading. That is what you call working when you want me not to worry. Evelyn smiled. I have 1 stop. How long? An hour. Grandma, I am not opening an investigation today. I am looking at a public log. You could send someone. I could. But you won't. People behave differently when they see an official car, and differently when they see you. Sometimes that is the point. The radiator hissed. A pipe knocked behind the wall. Call me when you leave, Naomi said. I will. Not your assistant. You. You have my word. After the call, Evelyn touched James's photograph, then carried the untouched second cup to the sink. Steam no longer rose from it. At 7:06, she opened the drawer beneath the telephone. Inside lay James's fountain pen, black lacquer worn pale near the grip. The engraving, for every voice they ignore, caught the light. She slipped it into the inner pocket of her navy coat. The folder went into the briefcase beside her old faculty identification, the ceremony program, and a sealed envelope Naomi had told her not to open until afterward. Evelyn checked the clasp twice. She locked the door and walked past the state vehicle waiting at the curb. Her driver lowered the window. Attorney General Carter. I'm taking my own car, Mr. Ellis. Security asked me to stay with you. Security was told I was visiting my granddaughter. He glanced at the briefcase. And Alder Creek? A brief detour. The old sedan started on the second turn of the key. By 7:19, Evelyn was heading east through steady rain, while the ceremony program on the passenger seat slowly curled at one corner. By 8:11 a.m., the rain had thinned to mist over Alder Creek's courthouse square. Evelyn parked beneath a sycamore shedding yellow leaves across the wet curb and folded the ceremony program into her briefcase. The courthouse wore fresh paint, white columns, polished brass, red geraniums beneath a banner reading, "Welcome, Neighbors." Inside, the air smelled of floor wax and burnt coffee. "Morning, ma'am," the security attendant said. "Civil court or payments?" "Public records. Window 3. Evelyn removed her damp gloves and crossed the lobby. Behind the glass, Lena Brooks sorted envelopes into plastic trays. "I'd like to review the public complaint log for courthouse security and local law enforcement," Evelyn said. Lena stopped. "The complaint log?" "Yes." "We have forms if you need to make one." "I'm asking to inspect the existing log. That usually requires an appointment. What rule requires it?" A cold draft breathed from the vent. Beside the window, the corner of a taped notice lifted, fell, then lifted again. Public complaint records may be viewed only with written authorization from the chief of police. Evelyn read it twice. "Who posted this?" "I don't know. The paper is dated last month." "I was told to leave it up." "By whom?" Lena glanced toward a half-open door. "Ma'am, are you an attorney?" "I taught law for 32 years. "That wasn't my question." "No, it was not." A copier clattered behind the partition. Lena tucked back a strand of dark hair and studied the folder. "Dr. Evelyn Carter," she read. "Carter University?" "Formerly." "My brother applied there. He didn't get in." "Most good lives begin with one disappointing letter." Lena almost smiled. Evelyn opened the folder enough to reveal the first complaint. An elderly veteran said he had been threatened with removal after asking why his statement vanished from a case file. Beneath it, a restaurant worker wrote that the complaint book was for serious matters. "I received 7 accounts," Evelyn said. "None received a tracking number." Lena lowered her voice. "Where did you get those?" "From the people who filed them." "You came from Raleigh for this?" Evelyn did not answer. The phone rang. Lena picked it up and turned from the glass. "No, sir. Just a records question." Her gaze moved over Evelyn's plain coat, modest shoes, and worn briefcase. "Yes, I understand." She hung up. "Someone is coming to speak with you." "Will that person bring the log?" "I didn't say that." Evelyn checked the wall clock. 8:24. Leaving by 9:30 would still place her at the university before Naomi entered the hall. "May I photograph this notice?" "Photography isn't allowed." "There is no posted prohibition. It's courthouse policy." "May I see it?" The vent clicked louder. The paper corner fluttered against the wall with a dry, impatient sound. Lena's fingers tightened around her pen. She looked again at the folder. A gold crescent showed beneath the top page, the edge of a state seal. Her expression changed. Before she could lean closer, heavy footsteps struck the corridor behind her. A man's voice came through the open door. "What exactly does she think she's entitled to?" "The same records any member of the public may inspect," Evelyn answered before the man reached the window. Officer Grant Mercer stepped through the side door, broad-shouldered in a rain-darkened uniform. He carried a paper cup that smelled of scorched coffee. Behind him came Daniel Turner, 26, a slim rookie with close-cropped brown hair and the habit of checking each doorway before entering. Mercer looked past Evelyn to Lena. "This the records problem?" "She asked for the complaint log," Lena said. "I asked to inspect it," Evelyn corrected. Mercer took a drink. "And she was told no?" "She was told an appointment might be required." "Might?" Evelyn asked. "I would like the written rule." The second hand above security clicked forward. 8:27. Mercer set down his cup. "Most people come in, state their business, and follow directions." "I stated my business." You challenged my clerk. I asked her a question. You're still doing it. Cold air lifted the edge of the notice beside Evelyn. She pressed it flat with one finger. Does this order come from your office? Mercer glanced at it. It's posted, isn't it? That does not answer the question. Turner looked from the notice to Mercer. Sir, public logs are usually... Mercer raised a hand. I've got it. A couple near the elevators turned away. The older man with the newspaper lowered it enough to watch. Evelyn removed one sheet from her briefcase. State law permits inspection during ordinary business hours unless an exemption applies. Which exemption are you claiming? Mercer did not take it. I'm claiming you're disrupting courthouse operations. No one was delayed until you arrived. Lena inhaled. Turner stared at the tile. Mercer leaned closer. You want to tell me how to run security? No. I want you to tell me what law allows you to hide a public complaint record. For 3 beats, only the clock answered. Mercer's fingers tightened around his cup. The cardboard crackled. What's your name? It is on the request. I asked you. Evelyn Carter. Address? For a records inspection? For my report. What report? The one I'll write if you keep refusing instructions. Evelyn folded the statute, aligning its edges. Am I being detained? Turner looked up. Mercer smiled without warmth. Do you want to be? That is not a legal answer. The elevator chimed. Its doors opened, but the waiting couple did not enter. Lena reached beneath the counter toward the phone, then stopped when Mercer glanced at her. Ms. Carter, he said, adopting the tone used with a child. Take your papers, go home, and let trained people handle legal matters. Evelyn's thumb rested on the worn edge of James's fountain pen inside her pocket. Officer, I taught constitutional law for 32 years. Mercer laughed once. Of course you did. Turner shifted. His body camera showed a steady red light. Evelyn looked at it. Then the record will show that I asked one question. What is the lawful basis for denying access? The clock clicked to 8:31. Mercer reached across the counter, took the brown folder from her open briefcase, and raised it beyond her grasp. Now, he said, we're going to discuss your attitude. Mercer held the folder above Evelyn's shoulder. Attitude first. Records later. Return my property. You said you taught constitutional law. He opened the folder with one thumb. Where? A correspondence school? A nervous laugh escaped from the man near the elevators. His wife touched his sleeve, and the sound died. My identification is in the inner pocket, Evelyn said. Mercer found the yellowed card and raised it to the fluorescent light. Dr. Evelyn Carter, Professor of Constitutional Law. He studied her plain navy coat. Expired 14 years ago. Retirement does not erase a career. It doesn't prove one. Turner leaned closer. The university seal looks legitimate. Mercer handed him the card. You authenticate antiques now? No, sir. Then stop helping. Cold air moved across the counter. A page slipped from the folder and landed face up on the tile. 20 law graduates stood beneath an auditorium banner. Evelyn was in the center, her silver hair still mostly black, James beside her with one hand at her back. Mercer glanced down. You carry pictures to convince strangers? Evelyn bent carefully. Her knee stiffened halfway. Turner moved first. Leave it, Mercer said. The rookie froze. Evelyn lowered herself the rest of the way. Wet grit roughened the photograph beneath her fingertips. No one offered a hand. The elevator opened, chimed, and closed on an empty car. She straightened and brushed the corner with her glove. That was my final class before my husband became ill. Mercer's smile flickered. Touching. It still doesn't give you restricted records. They are not restricted. You keep saying that. Because you have not answered me. Behind the glass, Lena's chair rolled back. Her faint smile was gone. She looked from the photograph to the faculty card, then reached beneath her desk. "What are you doing?" Mercer asked. "Checking the records policy." I already told her the policy. I'd like the written version, too. His head turned. Since when? Since she asked. The burnt smell of coffee mixed with rain drifting through the doors. Mercer set his cup down hard enough to splash the counter. She demanded internal files, refused to leave, and started throwing legal language around. "I have not demanded anything," Evelyn said. "You accused us of hiding complaints. I asked whether the notice was lawful. That sounds like an accusation." Turner rubbed his thumb over the card's raised seal. "Sir, we could verify it." Mercer snatched it back. "We don't verify every story." He slid the card into Evelyn's folder, but kept the folder beneath his arm. "My property," Evelyn said. "You'll get it after we determine whether you're interfering." "Then state the conduct." "You're doing it again." The clock clicked to 8:34. Evelyn looked at Lena. "Please note when he took my documents." 8:34, Lena said. Mercer stepped towards the glass. "Put the phone away." "I'm checking policy." "No, you're making this worse." Lena did not move. A red light blinked on Turner's chest. Mercer saw Evelyn watching it and tapped 2 fingers against the rookie's camera. "Angle that down." Turner hesitated. "Now." Turner's hand rose to the camera, but stopped an inch short of the lens. "Officer Turner," Evelyn said, "are you being ordered to obstruct the recording?" Mercer's jaw tightened. "Do not answer her." The red indicator reflected in the tile. Turner looked at it, then at the lobby behind Evelyn. 2 visitors stood near the elevators. Neither moved. "I was told to angle it down," Turner said. Mercer stepped closer. "And you were told to stop narrating." Lena's phone appeared beneath the counter, its screen dark except for a small red timer. She braced her wrist against a stack of forms. Evelyn lowered herself toward the fallen photograph. The floor felt cold through her glove, and one corner had absorbed rainwater tracked in from outside. She lifted it by the dry edge. "Please return the folder." Mercer tucked it farther beneath his arm. "You're not directing this scene. I'm asking for my property. You can ask from the bench." "What bench?" He pointed toward the narrow metal seat beside the holding room door. The lights hummed overhead. Someone near security cleared his throat, then pretended to study a wall map. Evelyn slipped the photograph inside her coat. "Am I free to leave?" Mercer glanced at the clock. "Not until I determine what happened. What happened is recorded." His eyes flicked to Turner's chest. "Not if the camera shows nothing useful." Turner's fingers curled around the bottom of the device. "Sir, policy says we keep a clear field unless there's a safety reason. You see a crowd? I see witnesses." Mercer stared at him. Turner's face reddened, but he did not lower the camera. Lena moved her phone half an inch higher. Mercer caught the motion through the glass. "Put that away. It's my personal phone." "You're on duty." "So are you." The words landed harder than Lena intended. Her breath caught. The older man unfolded his newspaper enough to hide his mouth. Mercer shoved the incident form across the counter. "Write that she refused repeated lawful instructions." Lena looked at the blank page. "Which instruction? To leave?" "You didn't tell her to leave after taking the folder." "Then write that she interfered with an officer." "How?" "Lena." Her pen remained above the paper. "I need the conduct." Mercer's palm flattened against the glass. Coffee trembled in the abandoned cup. Evelyn turned toward Turner. "May I sit without surrendering my right to leave?" Mercer answered for him. "Sit down." She walked to the bench. Each heel made a soft, deliberate sound on the tile. When she sat, the metal's chill pressed through her skirt. Her briefcase remained beside the counter, open and out of reach. Turner followed 2 steps, keeping the camera level. Mercer spoke through his teeth. "Point it down." "No, sir." The elevator chimed again. A woman inside saw the scene and stayed in the car until the doors closed. Mercer pulled out his radio. "Sarge, I need assistance in the courthouse lobby." Static cracked through the room. Evelyn pressed James's fountain pen between her fingers inside her pocket. Lena's phone timer passed 2 minutes. Then Mercer's radio answered with a woman's clipped voice. "Hold the subject. I'm coming down." The radio on Mercer's shoulder hissed before Sergeant Linda Voss entered through the side corridor. What happened? "She refused instructions and interfered with courthouse operations," Mercer said. Evelyn remained on the metal bench. Cold had worked through her skirt and settled. Voss looked at her. "Name?" "Evelyn Carter." "Identification?" "Officer Mercer has it." "He has a folder," Mercer said. "Nothing current." Turner shifted near the door. "There was a faculty card." Voss took the folder without opening it. "Stand up." "Am I under arrest?" "You're being detained while we establish what occurred." "What authorizes that?" "Grant said you were argumentative." "I asked for a public record." "You can explain that at the station." Lena stepped from behind the counter. "Sergeant, I recorded part of it." Mercer turned. "You what?" Voss saw the phone. "Save it. Do not send it." "It backs up automatically," Lena said. The holding room smelled of bleach, damp coats, and old paper. Its fluorescent tube flickered. Turner reached for her briefcase. "I can carry that." Mercer took it first. "We'll inventory it." "List anything you remove." "You're still giving orders." "No, I am preserving a record." Voss pointed inside. "Sit." The room was barely wider than the bench. Evelyn sat again. The metal was colder here. Mercer placed her briefcase outside the doorway, close enough to see but too far to touch. At 8:43, Voss began the incident form. Subject became agitated after lawful denial of restricted documents, Mercer dictated. "That is inaccurate," Turner said. Voss kept writing. "How?" She never raised her voice. "Agitated doesn't mean loud," Mercer said. "She asked legal questions." "She refused to leave." "You took her folder before telling her to leave." The pen stopped. Voss looked at Turner. "Are you contradicting your senior officer?" "I'm stating the sequence." "Your camera will establish it." "It will." Mercer's chair scraped the tile. He kept it aimed where she told him. "I asked whether it was recording," Evelyn said. Voss pulled the door nearly shut, leaving a narrow gap. "You'll speak when asked." Through it, Evelyn watched Voss replace one sentence. Subject repeatedly challenged officer authority and created a disruptive environment. At 8:51, Evelyn's phone rang inside the briefcase. Its vibration buzzed against the desk, stopped, then started again. "That is my granddaughter. I promised to call before her ceremony." Voss continued writing. "May I answer it?" "After processing." "The ceremony begins at 11. Mercer looked toward the bag. "Then she'll learn plans change." Turner's mouth tightened. The phone fell silent, then chimed with a voicemail. Evelyn pressed her palm against the cold bench until the trembling stopped. Voss signed beneath Mercer's version without opening the folder, viewing Lena's recording, or asking about the records request. Then she added one line. Subject displayed increasing hostility when informed of procedure. Evelyn looked through the gap at the gold seal beneath the clear cover. "Sergeant," she said softly, "you may want to read what you signed." Voss slid the report away. The phone began ringing again. At 9:02 a.m., Naomi stood behind the auditorium curtain, smoothing the same crease in her program for the 4th time. "Front row, center," Professor Malcolm Reed said, peering through the gap. That is where she said she would sit. Naomi found the chair immediately. A card bearing Evelyn Carter rested on the cushion above a smaller line. In memory of James Carter, it was empty. She may be parking. She calls when she parks. A microphone burst with feedback. The air smelled of dust and hot stage lamps. Rain ticked against the windows. Naomi dialed again. Across town, Evelyn's phone vibrated inside her open briefcase on Sergeant Voss's desk. "Same caller," Mercer said. "My granddaughter. Please let me answer." Voss kept writing. "We are nearly finished." "You said that 20 minutes ago." "Then stop interrupting." Turner looked at the clock. "Sergeant, one call won't affect processing. It affects control." The room smelled of bleach. The phone stopped. A voicemail symbol appeared. Mercer silenced it. "Do not touch it again," Evelyn said. He turned. "Or what?" She did not answer. At 10:47, Malcolm stepped onto the stage. Applause rolled through the hall. Naomi sat beside the vacant chair and placed James's program on it so no one would take the seat. "Naomi Carter," Malcolm announced, "whose work continues the public service legacy of her grandparents." She rose when the audience clapped, but her eyes stayed on the empty place. At the station, Voss carried Evelyn's briefcase into the holding room. "Inventory. You already delayed my call. You can have the phone after we document the contents." Mercer removed the ceremony program. 11 o'clock. That's unfortunate." Evelyn held out her hand. "Put it down." Turner stared at him. "Grant." Mercer dropped it onto the bench. The program slid to the floor. Then he found James's fountain pen. "Expensive?" "Not in the way you mean." He set it beside her phone. The black lacquer caught the fluorescent light, revealing the inscription, "For every voice they ignore." Voss read it and looked away first. At 11:18, families filled the auditorium aisles. Naomi remained beside the empty seat while Malcolm approached. "Still nothing?" She shook her head. "Call her office." "She asked me not to use staff for family things." "This stopped being a family thing when she disappeared." Naomi pressed the number. Inside the holding room, Voss handed Evelyn the phone. 1 minute. The screen showed 9 missed calls and a voicemail. Evelyn touched the message. "Grandma, they called my name. I left your seat open. I know you wouldn't miss this unless something was wrong. Please call me." Applause echoed faintly behind Naomi's voice. Evelyn reached for James's pen, but the cap slipped twice before she could hold it. Turner stepped toward the door. "Ma'am, I need privacy." Voss began to object, then pulled the door shut. In the sudden quiet, Evelyn sat with the phone in one hand and the pen in the other. The metal bench pressed cold through her clothes. She breathed once and called Naomi. Before the line connected, someone outside said, "Sergeant, there's a state attorney on line 2 asking why Dr. Carter is being held." "Put line 2 on speaker," Voss said. "No," Turner replied. "Answer it yourself." The fluorescent light buzzed over the desk. Evelyn's phone remained at her ear, waiting for Naomi to pick up. Mercer stood beside the open briefcase, one hand on the lid. Naomi answered. "Grandma, I'm here." "Where are you?" "At a police station in Alder Creek." A breath caught. "Are you hurt?" "No." "Then why?" Stay with Professor Reed. Do not drive here. That isn't an answer. It is the only instruction I'm giving you. Voss lifted the desk phone. Sergeant Linda Voss, a calm male voice answered. Marcus Reed, Deputy Attorney General, confirm that Dr. Evelyn Carter is in your custody. Voss looked. Who? The woman whose calls you ignored during a state ceremony. Mercer's hand left the briefcase. We have an Evelyn Carter detained during an inquiry, Voss said. On what charge? No charge yet. Then why can't she leave? Voss covered the receiver. Grant, bring me the folder. He did not move. Now. Lena's phone rested beneath a stack of forms. A blue progress bar crept across its screen as her video uploaded to an address on Evelyn's paperwork. Turner noticed. He said nothing. Inside the room, Naomi's voice sharpened. I'm calling your office. You may call Marcus. I already did. Evelyn closed her eyes. Good. You missed the speech. I know. They kept your chair empty. Evelyn looked at James's pen. Keep the program. I kept everything. Mercer handed Voss the folder. She opened it. The first page bore the seal of the Office of the Attorney General and a signed authorization for an unannounced civil access review in Alder Creek County. The next listed 7 complainants and ordered preservation of complaint logs, body camera records, and incident reports. Voss read the signature twice. Grant. He stared at the wall. Did you read this? She was waving papers around. She asked you to read them. She was disruptive. Turner spoke from the doorway. No, she wasn't. Mercer turned. Stay out of it. I can't. He touched his body camera. The lens stayed up. The audio backup is automatic. Your order is on it. Voss's pen stopped above the incident form. Upload the file to evidence. Mercer stepped closer. That recording is incomplete. It starts before you took her folder. Lena's phone vibrated once. Upload complete. She sent another message. Officer report does not match video. Preserve server copy. Marcus spoke through the desk phone. Sergeant, State Counsel is 8 minutes away. Do not alter, delete, summarize, or move any record connected to Dr. Carter. Voss looked at the report bearing her signature. What does your office believe happened? We believe your department detained the State Attorney General while she was reviewing complaints about your department. Evelyn ended her call and opened the door herself. Turner stepped aside. Sergeant, she said, return my phone, my pen, and my documents. Then lock the evidence system against edits. Voss placed the folder in both hands. Mercer looked toward the glass entrance. Beyond the rain, dark vehicles were turning into the lot. The first state vehicle stopped beneath the station awning at 9:21 a.m. A second pulled in behind it, then a third. Mercer watched through rain-streaked glass. His hand remained on Voss's desk, but his knuckles had gone pale. Who did you call? He asked Evelyn. No one from this room. Marcus Reed entered first, 47, tall in a charcoal overcoat, carrying a document case. Beside him walked Celia Morgan, 43, head of state professional standards. 2 evidence technicians followed. Marcus crossed the lobby. Attorney General Carter. Every conversation stopped. Lena lowered her phone. Turner straightened. Voss looked from Marcus to the gold seal beneath the folder's cover. Mercer laughed once. Attorney General? Evelyn rose from the bench without reaching for the wall. Yes, Marcus said. The elected Attorney General of this state. The folder slipped in Mercer's hand. Celia removed her damp gloves. No one touches a terminal, camera dock, report, or device connected to this incident until preservation is complete. This was a routine disturbance, Mercer said. Then, preserving the record should not trouble you, Evelyn replied. Marcus stepped closer. Are you injured? No. Denied a call. Until after the ceremony began. His jaw tightened. Naomi? I spoke with her. Evelyn wiped a coffee ring from James's pen and returned it to her coat. Celia pointed to the incident form. Who wrote this? I did, Voss said. After reviewing the camera? No. Interviewing the clerk? No. Reading Dr. Carter's authorization? Voss did not answer. Celia sealed the form in plastic. The sleeve crackled. Turner touched his camera. The full audio is backed up. Mercer turned. You don't know what's on that file. I know what I heard. Lena stepped from behind the counter. I have video, too. You were told not to send it. I sent it before anyone could tell me what to remember. Evelyn saw her trembling fingers. Thank you for preserving it. Lena lowered her eyes. Marcus opened his case. Officer Mercer and Sergeant Voss, do not contact witnesses or alter reports. Chief Price has been notified. Mercer found his voice. She never identified herself. Evelyn met his gaze. I identified the law. You decided that was not enough. Rain drummed harder on the awning. Marcus reached for the folder, but Evelyn took it herself. She checked the photograph, 7 complaints, the authorization, and the ceremony program. Its corner was bent. Ma'am, Turner said, I should have stopped it sooner. You should have followed policy sooner. What you do next will matter more than what you say now. Celia signaled to the technicians. One moved toward the camera dock. The other photographed the desk. Evelyn lifted her phone. First, I am calling my granddaughter again. Second, every record named in that folder will be secured. Third, no one is to be punished before the evidence is reviewed. Mercer stared at her. You're not suspending me? That decision belongs to a process you were unwilling to give me. A technician connected a sealed drive to the evidence terminal. The screen flashed, then showed a red warning. 3 files modified. 9:17 a.m. Stop the preservation process, Celia said. The technician's hand froze above the keyboard. The evidence room fan rattled behind the wall while rain tapped the narrow window. No one touches those files, Evelyn said. Photograph the screen first. A shutter clicked 3 times. Marcus leaned over the terminal. Which files? Mercer's body camera index, the lobby incident log, and courthouse security export. Modified by whom? Celia asked. Sergeant Voss's credentials. Voss gripped the back of a chair. I corrected a timestamp. At 9:17? Marcus asked. You were ordered to preserve everything at 9:13. I didn't delete anything. That is not what I asked, Celia said. Mercer stepped forward. She was fixing an error I gave her. Evelyn looked at him. Which error? He glanced at Voss. Turner's camera dock chirped. The technician removed the device and sealed it in clear plastic. The local file begins at 8:29, he said. The automatic server copy begins at 8:24. Play the first minute, Celia said. His own voice filled the room. What exactly does she think she's entitled to? Then came Evelyn's request for the public log and Mercer's order to angle the camera down. The speaker made every scrape of a chair sound close. No one interrupted. Lena rubbed a thumbnail over her cracked phone case. That report says she shouted. She didn't, Turner replied. Celia faced the technicians. Clone the server copy. Preserve access logs. Then pull every complaint closed by Sergeant Voss during the past 3 years. Chief Randall Price arrived before noon, rain shining on his coat. He was 55, broad-faced, silver at the temples, and smoothed his tie before speaking. "What is the scope of this?" "That depends on what your records show," Evelyn said. "Attorney General, perhaps we can discuss this privately." The clerk, the rookie officer, and the complainants were not given privacy. This department has served Alder Creek for decades. So have its residents. The archive room smelled of dust and damp cardboard. Boxes crowded metal shelves. Lena carried a stack to the table while Turner searched the index. "Here," he said. "Same phrase." Voss's closure note read, "Complainant became hostile when advised of procedure." Lena opened another file. Again. A third contained no witness interview. A fourth listed footage as unavailable, though the retention log showed it had existed. By the seventh folder, Price had stopped smoothing his tie. 7 thin files lay in a straight line beneath the white ceiling light. Mercer stared at them. "Those cases have nothing to do with today." Evelyn touched the first folder. "They use the same words. People get hostile." "Did all 7? No one answered. Marcus placed the new incident report beside the row. The sentence about Evelyn matched the older closures almost word for word. Celia looked at Voss. "Who taught officers to use this language?" Voss sat down slowly. The chair squealed against the concrete. "It was supposed to make reports consistent." "Consistent with what?" Turner asked. Her eyes moved to Chief Price. The ventilation fan kept turning. Price looked at the folders, then at the door. Celia closed it before he could leave. The chair legs scraped across the hearing room floor as Chief Price took his seat. At 2:06 p.m., Judge Helen Shaw entered without ceremony. She was 61, silver-haired, narrow-framed, and carried only a few pages. The room smelled of old wood, toner, and rain drying on coats. "This is a fact-finding hearing," she said. "Not a press conference, not a negotiation." Mercer folded his hands. "I acted to protect courthouse security." Judge Shaw looked at Celia. "Play the recording." A speaker clicked. Mercer's own voice filled the room. "A law degree? Ma'am, quoting statutes doesn't make you a lawyer." The sound was sharper than anyone remembered. Even the ventilation hum seemed to fall beneath it. Then came the order. "Angle that down." Judge Shaw stopped the audio. "What threat required the camera to be redirected?" Mercer's collar had darkened with sweat. "She was escalating." "How?" "She challenged every instruction." "Did she raise her voice?" "No." "Move toward anyone?" "No." "Refuse to identify herself?" "She gave a name, but—" "Answer the question asked." Mercer glanced toward Voss. "No." The recording resumed. Evelyn asked for the legal basis of the detention. Mercer's answer came back louder than his testimony. "Do you want to be detained?" Naomi sat beside her grandmother, both hands around the folded ceremony program. The paper had softened at the creases. Evelyn turned it so James Carter's name faced upward. Judge Shaw called Turner next. He stood too quickly and struck his knee against the table. "I knew the order was wrong." "When?" "When he told me to point the camera down." "And what did you do?" "I hesitated." "That is not refusing." "No, ma'am." "Why did you obey?" Turner stared at the red mark on his hand. "Every probation review came through Officer Mercer. Sergeant Voss had warned me about team loyalty. I thought one bad report could end my career." "And Dr. Carter?" "I let her carry the risk instead." No one moved. Lena was called after him. Her shoes tapped against the polished floor. "You recorded secretly," Judge Shaw said. "Yes." "Why not intervene openly?" Lena pressed her cracked phone case between both palms. "I watched complaints disappear for 2 years. People came back asking for numbers we never gave them. I told myself keeping my job meant I could help later. Did you? Not until yesterday. Her voice thinned on the last word. Naomi looked at Evelyn. You knew they might do this before you went. I knew they might deny the log. You didn't know they would keep you from me. No. Then why didn't you take security? Evelyn watched Mercer's image frozen on the monitor, one hand holding her folder above her shoulder. Because people should not need an escort to be treated lawfully. Naomi lowered her head. Her thumb traced the empty chair card inside the program. Judge Shaw turned to Voss. 7 prior complaints, no witness interviews, repeated language, missing footage, explain. Voss opened her mouth, but the speaker clicked again. Her own voice filled the room. Hold the subject. I'm coming down. It sounded colder than before. This time, even Chief Price would not look at her. Judge Shaw let the recording end before she spoke. Sergeant Voss, did you review the evidence before signing the detention report? No. Did Chief Price know complaints were being closed without witness interviews? Voss looked at the table. He knew the numbers were low. That was not my question. Price shifted in his chair. I knew the process was streamlined. Streamlined, Celia repeated. 7 people vanished into one sentence. Mercer pushed back. You're making this about language. Evelyn folded Naomi's program along the crease. No, the language made it easy to hide the conduct. Judge Shaw removed her glasses. Officer Mercer, your employment status is not mine to decide. Your credibility is. The room stayed still. Your report conflicts with video, audio, 3 witnesses, and your own statement. I am referring the matter to the State Certification Commission. Mercer's fingers missed his coat button twice. This hearing is over for me, then? For today, Shaw said. The consequences are beginning. By 4:10 p.m., Price sat in his office while rainwater crawled down the blinds. His badge lay near the desk's edge beside a resignation letter. You could have ordered the audit, Evelyn said. I planned to. For 3 years? I had a department to protect. You protected its appearance. His hand hovered above the letter. One public scandal can destroy trust. Trust was already gone. The public simply lacked your paperwork. He signed. The pen scratched louder than the traffic below. Across the hall, Voss removed files under Celia's supervision. She found a complaint in blue ink by an elderly man whose name she remembered. He came back twice, Lena said. Voss held the page by its corners. I told him there was no evidence. He brought a witness the second time. Voss shut her eyes. I know. Did you interview her? No. The paper trembled before she placed it in the evidence box. Mercer's desk was empty except for a coffee ring, a bent paperclip, and his badge. He stood over it without touching anything. Turner waited by the lockers. You happy now? Mercer asked. No. You kept your job. Conditionally. Mercer laughed without sound. They'll use you until this is over. Maybe. And then? Turner looked at the badge. Then I'll know whether I earned the right to keep mine. Mercer picked up his coat, leaving the badge behind. At 5:03, Celia read the interim decisions. Mercer terminated pending certification review. Voss suspended without pay. Price's resignation accepted. Turner retained only under external supervision, full cooperation, and mandatory retraining. Naomi stood beside Evelyn near the window. Does any of this give us yesterday back? No? Then why does everyone look relieved? Because they are confusing an ending with a repair. Lena approached with 7 complaint folders in a sealed box. What happens to these people? We contact everyone, Evelyn said. We reopen every file, and we ask what the department should have asked the first time. Outside, the rain thinned. Inside Mercer's office, the badge remained alone, while the first reopened complaint was carried toward the conference room. At 8:30 the next morning, 7 reopened complaint files lay beside a blank policy draft in the county conference room. Chief Price's chair was gone. Lena, Turner, 2 residents, Celia Morgan, and a union representative sat around the table. Coffee, damp wool, and toner scented the room. Marcus slid the draft toward Evelyn. The department proposes quarterly review. By whom? Internal Affairs. Mr. Alvarez, one complainant, laughed once. The office that lost my statement? The union representative tapped his pen. External review will overwhelm the county. Not every complaint, Celia said. Every disputed detention, missing recording, and closure without witness contact. That would have caught this, Turner said. It would have caught 6 cases before hers, Lena said. Evelyn turned the first page toward the residents. No one signs until the language is clear. Mr. Alvarez traced a line. What does administrative variance mean? The camera was not used correctly, Lena said. Then write that. Marcus crossed out the phrase. By 10:05, the draft had changed shape. Residents demanded tracking numbers before leaving the building. Celia added automatic preservation locks when an officer was named. Turner asked that any camera lowered for safety require a spoken reason. The union representative frowned. You want officers narrating every movement? No, Turner said. Only the movement that hides the record. A printer thumped in the next room. Naomi arrived with sandwiches and kissed Evelyn's temple. You slept? Enough. That means no. She noticed the ceremony program inside the briefcase. Its bent corner had been pressed flat, but the crease remained. You kept it. I keep evidence. That was not evidence. Evelyn folded her napkin. No. At noon, folding chairs filled the courthouse annex. The first page moved from Lena to Mr. Alvarez, then to a retired teacher, then to a young mother holding a sleeping child. Each circled a deadline or asked who would act when a rule was ignored. Who appoints the civilian board? The teacher asked. Not the chief, Evelyn said. Not your office either? No. No one spoke. Celia outlined rotating resident seats, public minutes, outside audits, and mandatory help for elderly or disabled visitors. No complaint could be closed by the supervisor who advised the officer involved. Lena raised her hand. Clerks need protection. We were told questioning an officer was disloyal. Add anti-retaliation language, Evelyn said. Marcus wrote it in the margin. At 3:18, the final page returned, covered in different handwriting. Evelyn signed once, then passed James's fountain pen to Mr. Alvarez. I am not an official, he said. You are the reason this exists. He signed as the first civilian witness. Turner stood near the back without a badge while under review. When applause began, he did not join it. He watched the old notice being peeled from the records window. The tape resisted, then tore free with a brittle sound. Lena replaced it with a new sheet. Public complaints may be filed, tracked, and reviewed without prior authorization. Evelyn adjusted one crooked corner and stepped aside as the first resident approached the window. 3 weeks later, the university placed the same empty chair in the front row. The card still read in memory of James Carter, but this time Naomi stood beside it before the ceremony began. She smoothed the bent program across the seat, then looked toward the aisle. You came early. Evelyn adjusted the cuff of her navy coat. I had learned something about delays. Naomi smiled, but her eyes stayed wet. That almost sounded like a joke. Do not repeat it. The hall smelled of polished wood and fresh flowers. Warm light crossed the stage where James's name had been added to the scholarship wall. When Naomi was called, Evelyn remained seated until her granddaughter looked directly at her. "This award began with my grandfather," Naomi said into the microphone, "and with the woman who taught me that knowledge means little unless it reaches people who are being ignored." Evelyn lowered her gaze. In her palm lay James's fountain pen. After the applause, she placed it in Naomi's hand. "I thought you kept evidence," Naomi whispered. "I do." Naomi closed her fingers around the worn lacquer. "Then what is this?" "A responsibility." Across town, the new complaint window opened at 8 each morning. Lena now supervised the public tracking system, and every visitor received a numbered receipt before leaving. The first monthly report listed 12 complaints, 9 resolved requests, and 3 cases sent automatically to outside review. Turner worked under a field supervisor from another county. He completed camera policy training, gave testimony in all 7 reopened cases, and no longer touched his recorder without announcing why. One afternoon, an elderly man began raising his voice at the records desk. "I know what happens to complaints here," the man said. Turner stepped back instead of forward. "Then let's make sure you leave with a number." From behind the glass, Lena watched him print the receipt. Mercer lost his certification after the state commission found that he had misrepresented the detention and attempted to influence a witness. Voss accepted dismissal rather than contest the findings. She later sent written apologies to the 7 complainants, though only 2 answered. Price's resignation became permanent. After the county audit showed he had delayed outside review 4 separate times. Evelyn read every decision once. She kept none of them on her desk. 6 months later, the Civilian Board held its first public meeting in the courthouse annex. Mr. Alvarez sat at the center of the table, no longer in the row reserved for observers. The old restrictive notice had been framed beside the new policy, not as a trophy, but as a record of what had been allowed. A reporter asked Evelyn whether she felt vindicated. She looked toward Lena, Turner, and the residents waiting to speak. "No," she said. "I feel finished with one part of the work." "And the officer who detained you?" "He has consequences. That is not the same as repair." When the meeting ended, Naomi found her grandmother beside the records window. The new sign hung straight. Outside, rain moved softly across the courthouse steps, just as it had that first morning. "Ready to go?" Naomi asked. Evelyn turned the handle of a paper coffee cup toward the empty chair beside her. "This one is yours." Naomi sat. The chair was empty no longer. Have you ever witnessed someone being dismissed, mocked, or denied fair treatment because others underestimated them? Share what happened in the comments, including what you did, or what you wish you had done differently. Send this story to someone who believes dignity should never depend on age, appearance, position, or power. Stories like Evelyn's matter because accountability is not only about one person facing consequences, it is also about changing the rules that allowed the harm to continue. Subscribe for more stories about justice, quiet resilience, courageous witnesses, and systemic change. Your support helps these stories reach people who may need the reminder that a calm voice can still challenge an entire institution.